First of all, thank you very much for this honor to the university, to all of you. There's no story that comes on a Patrick Rock. There are 4 chiefs that were turned to stone there by the Creator, cows. And it's my wife's aunt that remembered this story. The Creator had given those chiefs instruction to teach the people to read and write. It was an order from the Creator, and they didn't do it. So the Creator came back and turned them to stone. A lot of our teachings, a lot of our skewes is written in stone around the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. And that's one of them. It's one of the laws that we have, is to teach the people how to read and write. And it was through a conversation that I had with my then aide-de-camp, Bob Blacker, who's present today, glad that he's here. It gave birth to the idea of bringing books out to isolated communities. There's a lot of places in British Columbia, they don't have the same services as we do here. They don't have libraries, they don't have access to computers. But when we began to bring books out, something magic happened. As other people started coming with us, other corporations, other businesses, Rotarians, they began walking with us. And today, thanks to the efforts of Bob Blacker and the Rotarians, they're building libraries now. Libraries, not just bookshelves. They're bringing libraries, and the books are coming from all over. We've received even funding from the Seattle Rotarians, where Bill Gates is a member. Everything starts with a thought. Everything starts with an idea. And through that conversation that I had with Bob Blacker, I asked him whether or not the Rotarians were still carrying on their book sales and bringing books to the world. And he said, yes, they are. I asked him whether or not they ever thought of bringing books to our own people in Canada who were isolated. And he said he didn't know, but he was going to ask. And I asked that question to Rotarians of Victoria when I had a chance to speak to them. Before I left that room, I had $10,000 in my hand from Rotarians who were saying, we want to help you make this dream a reality. And since then, Bob Blacker has worked tirelessly. I'm glad that he's here, my dear brother. They've got architects, they've got planners, they've got construction people going out to isolated places now. They're designing buildings that make sense to First Nations. They're bringing books to First Nations that make sense to them, written by other First Nations academics. We're encouraging parents to learn how to read so that their children can hear their parents read. There's a lot of paths out of poverty. One of the best, in my view, is literacy. And I'd like to thank this institution, university, for taking the time to recognize our First Nations people, for creating a center like this, where our young people can feel more at home. The world is changing every day. And if the history that we've lived teaches us anything, is that we need to learn the mistakes of the past so that we don't recreate them in the future. Hatred and bigotry and ignorance can only be overcome by education, by learning, and by sharing. My vision for the future, for Canada, for this province, is that we learn to walk together, that we learn from one another in an atmosphere of mutual respect. So in that vein, I want to thank you for this wonderful gift and for this wonderful honor. And I'd like to thank the students for coming. I had a chance to chat with you. It's been a long time since I sat where you're sitting. But I can tell you, your education goes quickly. You gotta start learning, getting those degrees, because your people need you at home. Your communities need you. We're embarking upon a great time in our history as First Nations, as we begin to resolve long outstanding land claims, as we begin to embark upon the long journey towards self-government. And when we do that, we're going to need more hands, more educated young people like yourselves. Thank you all. Thank you for the Rotarians who've come today. Thank you very much for the generous.
Tatamana te I Tawato, Tatamana te I Tawato, SFU, Angela, for the support. To I Tawato, to the students that are standing here, and to everyone that's here, I really want to say thank you. To Ian is thank you. AGIS, it's a very good work that you've done. Congratulations. Halkomelem. It's his words that I repeat sometimes. And years ago, I'm talking maybe 30 years ago, I cannot remember the ceremony, but he said, when one of our people fall down in the streets of Vancouver, we all fall down. But when one is stood up, we're all stood up. So the words for our nephew, when he mentioned the work that has been done. Of course, I've had a front row seat, and I've walked with him for 48 years now. And he's the same man throughout those years. So I'm really grateful for what you've done here and acknowledging. We have our granddaughter attending SFU here, Jada. Wave, Jada. And our son is with us as well, and it's really true. It's the whole family. And we couldn't have done it without family. And that family extension, of course, is throughout Coast Salish territory. And sometimes you think, why am I doing this, sitting on the back of a limousine? This is why we do this. And I'm going to share a story because I really want to encourage the young people to continue what you're doing. I really want to encourage all the different nationalities that are here. Don't give up who you are to be here. Be proud of who you are and your heritage. Don't give up your language to be here. Elders would say you're rich on both sides. When Halkomelem was asked to be the Lieutenant Governor, he accepted. It was kind of a difficult decision because of the relationship with First Nations and the government at the time. But we knew that it was important for him to do this. All the chiefs throughout BC, everybody was so excited. The elders and the young people and the chiefs brought him to Vancouver, to the convention center, to congratulate him. And they were all there, all the chiefs. And I stood at the back by this escalator waiting for the children, our children, to arrive. And we knew that some of our people would have a difficult time with the decision to be the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia to represent Her Majesty. And I was standing there at a round table, and I could see this lady coming up the escalator, and you could tell she was angry. You could tell she was a fighter. And I thought, whoops, here we go. And I tried to turn away a little bit, but then I thought, well, I don't want her to go and disrupt what was happening over with the chiefs. So I turned back to her a little bit, and she made eye contact, and she started walking right towards me. And then I kind of turned away going, oh my, what am I going to say to this lady? And so I just stood there. And she came up, and I just stood there, and I wouldn't look at her. And she just stood there, and I could feel her intensity, right? And then she kind of hit the table, and she said, is this the right thing to do? Is this the right thing to do? And I looked at her, and I said, I don't know. We don't know if it's the right thing to do. But let me tell you this. 3 years before that, we held the Tsleil-Waututh powwow for 15 years, and we'd have 1,000 dancers and drummers and singers. And it was a huge event. We had to raise $70,000 every year for that. And we did it off the sides of our desk. And one year, out of the corner of my eye, I could see somebody approaching me. And I actually had security guards keeping people away from me because I was running everything. But when I looked, it was an elder from the Okanagan that we grew up with that taught us. And she came up and she said, oh, Gwen, I don't want to bother you. She said, we just arrived, but I have to tell you something. And I said, oh, Mike. I said, come in. I said, come. And so they brought her around. And she said, I have to tell you about a dream that I had. And I said, oh, okay. And she started to tell me the dream, and then I said, I'm going to just stop you. And I called 2 other people. I said, come here, I want you to listen to what the elder's saying. And that's part of our oral tradition, because I didn't want the story to be just with me. I wanted other people to witness the story. So 3 people came, and she said, I don't know what this means. She said, but I had this powerful dream. And they took Stephen, and they took you, and it was on a grassy, beautiful, beautiful hill. And on the hill, there was a throne. And they took Stephen by the hand, and they put him on the throne. And then they took you, and they sat you beside him in a chair. She said, I don't know what that means, but then I could hear our drums. I could hear the drums, and the people started to come. She said, but it wasn't just our people, it was Asian people and black people and white people kept coming, and the song kept getting louder and louder. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I said, oh my. I said, I'll remember the story. And we call the dear elders auntie, whether they're related or not. It's just a respect. I said, okay, auntie, okay. And I never thought about it again at all. So I was telling this to the lady that was real angry, right? Because when they came and installed him as the 28th Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, When he walked into the buildings, the government buildings, they took him and they sat him on a throne. And they sat me beside him. And it was the first time that those buildings, government, parliament, heard our drums in those buildings. So I turned to the woman that was really, really upset and angry, and I thought she was still going to want to fight or argue, and she was standing there crying. And she goes, I didn't know. I said, it's okay. I said, we don't know. We just follow. You just follow and do your best. So the elders would say to SFU, thank you for listening. Thank you for having that thought and standing up, one of our dear people, for the work that they've done. You've shown these young people how to do our work in a good way, that ATI is to schwellen in a good way, with good feelings. And in doing that, you've stood up our family and all the ones that we're connected to, and on the traditional lands of our families and our people. So to Ian, I really want to say thank you, congratulations, qwЄl. And over the years, I've told people he's a good man. There's no other word to describe him. He's a good man. So to Ian, enjoy your day and thank you for this wonderful honor.